Vice Government Advisor for the updates. Item 3, public forum. We had no one speaking in the public forum, so we'll go straight to item 4. We have a slightly new structure with instead of 4 reports now, we're having condensed down to 3 reports now, and which is operations group, community service group, and engagement strategy and planning report group. But first up is the operations group, and I'll get the director to just get an update on the operations side.
Through you, Chair, firstly, I've just been acting in that role for 5 or 6 weeks, and the group manager operations commenced in the role on Monday of this week. Here's an apology, Tim, it's an apology for this meeting, so that's the first thing. Second, I'd like to hand over to the group manager of engagement strategy and planning to give an update re the Seaview wastewater and what's occurring down there. And then between the two of us, we will attempt to answer any questions on that report. I'll just throw my hand grenade over to group manager over there, and anything that we're unsure of, we will find answers for.
Through you, Chair. So yes, in this transition period, I've continued to sort of have a watching brief on 3 waters matters. So I'd just like to take the opportunity, if I may, to update a section of the operations group report regarding Seaview wastewater treatment plant, specifically paragraphs 11, 12, and 13. Given the fact that there's been a few issues with the plant, I did reach out to Wellington Water and asked them if they could provide some specific updates against the 3 points which I've written into this report, given this report was written some time ago. So if it's okay, I might just read the updates. So regarding paragraph 11, the update is on the 1st of November, Wellington Water provided a detailed response to the Greater Wellington Regional Council. Please explain better, dated 11th of October 2024. In response to the Greater Wellington Regional Council questions relating to odour issues in September and October, Wellington Water Limited documented how the impact of recent incidents at the Seaview plant, including the fire incident, mechanical failures and processing issues, contributed to the odour issues experienced by the community. A number of complaints were reported during the 2 months, and of these, on 6 occasions, odour was assessed by Greater Wellington Regional Council to be offensive and objectionable, which is a breach of the consent conditions. Wellington Water Limited have not had any further correspondence from Greater Wellington Regional Council on this matter as of yesterday. In addition to this update, an overview of the site processing issues encountered last weekend was provided in yesterday's update. This was the update that I emailed to all elected members, and then was followed up by Wellington Water themselves, who emailed all the recipients who are on what's called the Seaview treatment plant interested parties list. So you may have got that message twice, depending on both of those. In terms of paragraph 12, work on the biofilter to replace the air distribution system and cell isolation under the bark media was completed in October, and the biofilter is fully operational. Planning and design are underway for stage 2 of the odour treatment project. This involves odour treatment for the dryer form and the mill screen building. Odour from the treatment processes in those areas, being sludge drying and mill screening, is already treated through the biofilter. The buildings themselves currently vent to the atmosphere. Paragraph 13, just a minor update here, just to I guess reiterate that the Seaview wastewater treatment plant dryer project replacement is underway. The investigation and scoping phase is almost complete, and Wellington Water advised that overall they are still on track to have this project completed as programmed by 2028. Right on that, Chair.
Okay. All right, I'll open it to the field, Councillor Aldrin.
Thank you, through your chair. I just wanted to ask what is happening to the dewatered sludge in the meantime. If it goes to landfill, how do they process it at the landfill?
Through your chair. So yes, as per the email that I sent through yesterday, at the moment the water sludge is being stored and then taken to the Silver Stream landfill specifically. Have been very good at supporting Wellington Water and PLN through this process. The problem with, sorry, I said deep water, the problem with there being water in that sludge is that the mix ratios need to be taken account of, so it takes longer to be able to process it through into the landfill. So that creates a bit of a backlog, which then in turn leads to other issues.
So can I just, how do they treat it at the landfill though? I mean, when they receive
Oh,
it, is it just buried or what do they actually do with it?
Through your chair, that's a good question. To be honest, I haven't been to landfill to see how it is processed. I mean, it is a toxic is probably too strong a word, but it is a waste product, obviously. So it is taken care of in an appropriate way. For it to break down, I believe it needs to be mixed in with other landfill to be able to decompose over time. I don't believe it's wrapped as you might do with other toxic waste.
Supplementary food. I'm just wondering because the reason the sludge dryer has broken down is because of the chemical they were using to desludge the pond. And it was something to do with the it said in the email about the desludge chemical had damaged the drying machine. That the drying machine couldn't cope with it. So if that's the case, this additional chemical in the sludge being processed at landfill somehow, or dealt with in some way. So that will be going into the soil as well.
So through your chair, look, to be honest, I'm not an expert on how waste is taken to landfill. Our new group manager of operations is an ex-person actually ran wastewater treatment plant, so he will be better placed to answer some of these more technical questions.
Okay.
However, I would say that all of the best practice guidelines are followed and have done so in the past when this kind of issue has occurred. So there's no reason why we wouldn't be following that now. That would make health and safety.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. It's just on the water legal there and tracking the spend there. So I'm just wondering, two questions, Chair. The first one, is it helpful to add a cost per leak metric to that? Is there an average or is it very variable? And then the second is, we're tracking quite quickly through the total budget for leak repairs. So at what point can we see some advice on doing to refund and reforecast or?
Yeah, so through your chair, in terms of cost per leak breakdown, that's something we can certainly take away. I'm not sure the granularity of how that takes place. I mean, the funding that we provide to Wellington Water is not broken down, that kind of thing. But I mean, the dashboards that you see continue to be refined, but Wellington Water obviously like to present the information in a consistent way across the region as well. But certainly happy to take that away as something to look into in terms of cost per leak. You're right in terms of the second question, and this is something already I've had discussion with the new GM of operations around this as well, and just in terms of where we're going to go with that. There'll be a discussion that takes place with him and also our group manager corporate services as well, in terms of financial implications, and we'll come back to council.
So the whole
That's really paragraph 1, the year-round water restrictions. Do we have evidence that that's actually an effective way of managing that?
Through you, Chair, I couldn't specifically tell you. What I would note, however, is that this is something that Upper Hutt City Council has undertaken for decades, as far as I'm aware.
And that's kind of my point.
Yeah.
That breeds that becomes the norm, and hence I asked the question, is there any evidence that that's actually an effective high permit, or are people just going to whatever they normally do? And would it actually be more, you know, a chance to shake things up and look at it in a different way, and see if that was going to have any significant impact on the returns?
So, through you, Chair, so I would give you a suggestion that we align ourselves more to the rest of the region where we, for a period of the year, I guess, in the next time, we don't have any restrictions at all.
Well, what I'm saying is, if there isn't any evidence to show that it's being effective, it seems that, like most things, are often more effective when they're short and sharp for a saving for a particular point in time. People kind of go, oh, right, that's right, we're just doing that for 3 months over this period, or for whatever. And people tend to take more notice of it when it's not something that's sort of status quo all year round.
Yeah.
And so hence I'm asking for the evidence of that, the current status quo being an effective means of managing it.
Okay, just through you, Chair, look, I'm happy again to take the delay, as an action for my colleague to look into. However, I would note, just in a previous slide, so my own personal experience, oh goodness, going back, and it would have been 12 years ago when I was working at what was called Capacity at the time. The predecessor director of asset management and operations at Upper City Council was very strong on this at the time, and I can personally reflect on the way that enforcement was a key tool in that, and it only took making an example of a couple of people who were breaching the water restrictions that there was quite strong compliance. But that's just more as a side story, but I will take it away as an action.
Personally, I think the opposite way around. I think other councils should be following us, and it's an educational thing. We have to actually educate everyone that they are our water ones all through the year, not just in October to be. So if we all did the same, we all sang up the same song sheet, I think we'd be better off. But
And that's why I'm
about-
asking for the evidence base for that.
True, but
Personal anecdotes, Chair.
right.
And Chair, my personal.
Yes.
Noted, thank you.
Small sample size that we have in this room, if we could extend that.
Through you, Chair, we'll take that as an action.
Thanks.
That's all.
Yeah, I would agree that, it's the rest of the region that should be following us on year-round water restrictions. And the reason for supporting it is to develop good habits year-round, rather than switching back and forth between. Yeah, and I would think that even in the wetter months, there's still dry spells sometimes, and I think we should be mindful all the time.
That's Swales.
I've got a number of questions on this particular paper. Are there any other questions that my colleagues might have before I open up to the floor?
Yes.
Could the group manager explain what is meant by para 45, please? The next dangerous, protected and sanitary buildings policy update is due to end. What does that mean? I've never seen this before. Good job. And can we get a copy of whatever?
Was it
Get a copy of standard?
Right, Councillor Swales.
Thank you. So I have a couple of questions, and it's going back to the report where the group manager spoke around 11 and 13, but I also want to incorporate the 14. And then I've got some other questions on resource management. But my first one, I recall in a meeting that we were told that there was an abatement notice and a work program that Seabury were given. So we were under the impression that all of the works with regard to ODA were going to be compliant by the 1st of December. Has that been changed?
Through you, Chair, my understanding is that's what paragraph 12 refers to in terms of the works that are taking place around the biofilter.
Yeah, but it doesn't give us a date. Are we still aiming to have that all completed by the 1st of December? Or has that moved out? Because there was some penalty that we might be created for. I just want a little bit, that doesn't tell me anything, that para.
Okay, through you, Chair, I'll take that as an action to come back to, confirm compliance by the first of December.
Because I believe with regard to, and then with regard to the sludge, I also believe that there was a confirmation that it was going to be back online and there were going to be a workshop around lessons learnt. Did that happen? Around the sludge. So there was an issue on the 27th of September, and then there was another 11 days when it was out. There was going to be a workshop with officers and Viola and Seaview to look at lessons learnt. So it looks as if lessons haven't been learnt and we're still in this situation. So I just want a little bit of clarity on, you know, did that workshop happen and what was the outcome of that workshop? Would be really good. I just think that it'd be good for us to know. And whilst we're being told that this is a plant that is coming to its end of life, I just think that with the investment that we're looking at putting over the 10-year period, which we've got, which is $205 million, I just think that there seems to be a lot of moving parts that are breaking down. And it would just be good to actually have all those different parts identified and to, are we getting value for money out of that $205 million that we've got in our OTP? Would be, then I want to go to number 14. Now, when we talk about, you know, the work that needs to be done, I believe that there was a time when this work was indicated that it would happen in 2025, which was in a holiday period. But regarding the potential funding of this work, when will we get to know what our portion of that $5.1 million is? Before, I'm assuming we should know before the work starts in April. So do we have any indication of when that might come back to us?
Through you, Chair, no, I can't give you that date off the top of my head, but I can come back to you on that one.
Okay, thank you.
Will they come to have those senses or?
Yeah, through you, Chair.
Well, it should come back to finance if it's $1 a month. I would have thought.
I mean, I think you're right. I mean, it'll go through both of those areas. Yeah.
I just think as my elected colleagues should be aware, not just us.
Yeah.
So I just want to go to page 7. What is the reason that we euthanize dogs? That's para 33 is just one question.
Through you, I imagine, and I can just imagine what most people, that they're not collected, they're not able to be homed or anything else like that, and there is no other alternative, but I can certainly give a more complete answer.
That would be really nice, because I'd like to know what effort goes in before they put the dog down.
I think that's been the case in the past.
Okay. I have another question, and it goes to page 17, and it's a summary of resource consent decisions that were made. And on page 17, it's got a high density residential, non-residential activity signage setback, location and operation of food truck at 1 Redwood Street, and it is spoken about in some literature before. I just have a question of when we actually give these consents for businesses that actually go in direct competition to our businesses in the CBD, and we give them a consent to operate, do they pay any other fees to us as a council, like the other food businesses in the CBD, or is it just a consent that they pay for and then they've got that for however long that consent is granted to them for? I just know that, you know, businesses on Main Street or anywhere else in a physical brick building pay rates, absolutely. So I was just wondering.
Certainly they'll pay consents.
Yeah.
Whether they pay a lease for the land or whether they're on private land, I will find that out.
Right.
Is
It's
it
just,
license?
it's almost like, sorry.
A food license, I think you say.
Environmental health, I need them to have a food license, but I was thinking more like, you know, it's almost like a home occupation or a home building where actually they don't pay rates as per normal that any other business would. And I recall that another report that came back to this committee around how we had actually given a number of consents to similar businesses like this. And then in the very 2 paragraphs after, the businesses in Main Street actually came back to our offices and said that they needed help because of the unfair competition that's happening there. I just don't seem to think that we're looking at this holistically.
Yeah, I do remember we had talked about this before, about food trucks and that, paying no rates and the rest of it, so.
Yeah,
You pretty sure can certainly find out the process and that was gone through step by step and provide that.
thank you. Can I also ask another question, if it's through tolerance through you, Chair, is that when we as elected people ask questions about these things to our officers, we normally get an email come through to us at CC to all the elected people, but it's actually a question that could have been generated by a member of the public, and yet it's never tabled in any of our minutes. Is that something that we can have a conversation about, or give it actually part of minutes? You know, we have documents tabled, we ask a question in this committee, and it comes back to us in an email, but it actually isn't captured in the minutes of where it was generated from, just an observation.
Normally we get it through our emails.
But that doesn't answer the question that was posed in the committee, and it's not documented as part of, you know, I'm not saying that it needs to say that Councillor Swales asked this, but I mean, it's been live streamed, it's an answer, it's a question that we've asked of the officers. And one of those questions that I've put on there could have come from a member of public.
Yeah.
When it comes to me in an email, am I able to then to actually send that email out to that person? Because it never gets documented in a place that makes it available to the public. Is my point,
All the other ways you have updates,
which are documented to you.
you could have that, but you're looking at, you know, down the track 4 or 5, you know, weeks down the track for an update on a question that you asked.
So we get an email within 2 or 3 days.
So you're saying that the question that we would know, right, and get the answer to, which you're saying the general public should know, is they're hearing it live, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
I guess what information comes to us and it's public, then I guess you can actually source that out. That just sounds like it would be.
Yeah, but I think it should be documented somewhere too for those people that don't get to see, because it's been in a, you know, it's like tabling documents, you know, people that come and speak in public forum, table a sorry, this is off script, but it was never meant to be a discussion, it was meant to be put out there for the officers to think about, and the chair, who was chair, up to your
Through
discretion.
you, Chair, I'm happy to take that away and have a conversation with the government centre, just work through the implications of that and the concern of it as well. How we would manage it as well, because it would obviously not just be this committee.
No, it's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So happy to
Thank you.
take that away.
Thank you.
Right. Councillor.
Through Chair, I just have a couple more questions on this item. So under renewals work, I frequently get asked questions by members of the public about areas of footpaths and roads that need renewals. I'm just wondering if we can have a list of, like I see there's, you know, updates on this paper for Ward Street, for example. But could we have a list of expected renewals throughout the city, so that the community can see that their street is on the list and that it is actually coming up? I think people would be a lot more satisfied to be able to see that it is up for renewal, and to give them a basic time frame of when that will be.
Through the chairs, like, I'm happy to take that away, as an actually ground GM officer to look into. If we did go down that path, that it wouldn't be reported through, I wouldn't recommend that it's reported through reports to this committee, but it would be something that we need to operational, it's quite an operational issue that we, I guess, look to put on our website or something, so.
And through the chair, and there is that information is available.
Yeah.
The difficulty with it is sometimes that if it's put out to the public, and then there are contractual issues or weather issues, the dates that may be put out there are not able to be realised, and there may be changes made, so it's just a, it will be something that would need to be considered and worked through with the GMO.
And my other question was about the Pine Haven Stream Works. And I'm just wondering if we have any reports on how well the stream coped with the heavy rain through the winter, and whether we've seen an improvement on drainage before the third part of the works are done. I realise it's unfinished, but yeah, I just wondered how the area coped.
Through your chair, so yes, certainly we had an event, I can't recall the exact recurrence period. I think it was at least a 1 in 5 year event that occurred through winter. And certainly just through my own direct observations, I went out and looked on the side of Willow Park, and where in previous years under that kind of amount of rainfall, it would have flooded outside of the stream channel, then potentially into buildings nearby. It was all contained within the stream channel. So anecdotally, that's certainly been an improvement to the stream. We're just working through, as noted in paragraphs 15 and 16, we're getting a bit more evidence-based information so we can know exactly what we've achieved to date, and then we can work out what needs to occur going forward in terms of achieving the objectives of the
Well, the geese look happy and the pigeons are eating everyone's seed.
Two more questions. Page 6, waste minimisation 22-23. Whilst we have a report on where we are sitting with the regional waste minimisation, we also have a local waste minimisation. It would be really good to get a report as to where we are in our delivery program of our local waste minimisation. I think that would be helpful to have that as well. And then my last question is, and it's one that I always ask, so when we're out of compliance with regards to resource consenting and compliance, and we go over the days, and we know that there is money involved, is there any way that we can get a financial impact of any reduction on those consents? Because every time it goes over, it costs us money, but I don't ever see that. I just see that there are so many that are done in this many days. So, and it actually says here that there are some that are done outside that time, but we never get to see what the financial implications are. That would be really nice to have that in this report as well.
Through you should take that on board and pass it on to the group manager operations.
And that's definitely new.
It's saying that council starts thinking about resource consent, wanting water. Now that they've got a new staff member involved, we should see an improvement on those resource consents. Question is that happening? Because this is very much the same board as last time, so I'll see an improvement.
Through you, Chair, we've got a fixed term position starting today, yesterday, tomorrow, and that's through the end of March, in that consenting area. And then we have gone out for a subdivision compliance officer, in the last few months. We were unsuccessful in that and looking to go out again early in the new year for those roles. So consenting, we will have the staff shortages at the moment addressed with fixed term to a certain extent, and certainly with that new position.
Okay, during that, coalition government's talking about refining and streamlining the consent process. So do we know any more detail about that? So surely that will going to impact on staffing in the council and in this council and other councils.
Through you, Chair, there's nothing more than what is already out in the public domain in respect of what is happening. There's a lot of speculation around what could and might happen with regional organisations or groupings, etc., but nothing concrete is coming out.
Watch this space.
Sorry, one last comment to make. Thank you, Chair. Emergency management, I see that staff have had some practice, and I just wanted to say that there's a community response practice coming up as well on November 24th. Sorry, this is on page 9. And it's at the school hall in Maryland, and that's a really good practice for the community to run a response team locally, and then that team would have a radio control to communicate with the council staff who are running their response team at the library. So I just wondered if we could, it's on the Remo website. I just wondered if we could promote that locally because it's coming up on the 24th. I can send it to you.
Yes, pretty sure, certainly have that like that.
Any questions here? No? Okay, I'll move to the report you received. Are you happy? All in favour? Aye. Right, we shall move to item 5, with the citizens report. Very good. So, any updates?
No updates, Chair.
Updates.
Right, for any questions?
Right, I can report. That's the case.
Parasite housing, about the housing going held on the 11th of September, set up a community-based organisation to have opportunity to ask questions and make concerns. What concerns were raised by the other-based community organisations at that point?
Pretty Chair, was to summarise it, a lack of priority for Upper Hutt's needs compared to other councils, territorial authorities in the region. The explanations from the central government agencies were, there's an issue in Upper Hutt, but it is, and I'm paraphrasing very much here, it is not as bad as in some other places. And that was made very plain to those organised, to those central government agencies by all from emergency to transitional to community housing providers that are delivering in Upper Hutt.
Were there any notes kept from the meeting?
There are some minutes from that meeting, yes.
I have a copy of those.
I'll send them.
Yeah, thank you.
Question on the libraries. So the library, we've got the discussion in there. There's no numbers you can collect? Numbers on it? No.
Through you, Chair, no, we haven't isolated that in the library. To specifically count numbers that go and look at the exhibition, we're counting numbers coming into the library, but beyond that, we don't have the ability, the people power to be able to specifically look at people and count numbers that are going to that exhibition.
So it's a issue to see how many people serve with it, and then get that impact. Right. Yeah, so I'll check that.
Thank you, Chair. So page 22, Kai Network. I'm really happy to see this collaboration happening, and I just wondered, what can we do to make sure that we're future-proofing food growing land and prioritising the Kai Network across the district plan and making sure that it's embedded into other policies across other committees and just making it more of a priority in one committee.
So through you, just to be clear, so what are we doing in district plan to prioritise? So
Yeah, what can we do more in order to make sure that the Kai Network is protected and growing and within food growing land and future proofing? This concept is great, and I just want to see it grow, and I want to see it bigger than it is.
through you, I mean, I would need to look into this more because I would need to re-familiarise myself with the soil classifications that we've got in Upper Hutt as well, and the implications that has also in terms of growth and development within the city.
Yeah.
So this might be something better to discuss, probably, like in a different area when we're talking about district planning, yes. But I can't tell you off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem I'm seeing. It's in this committee and it's the kind of work as an action locally with different groups. So how do we make it bigger in terms of other?
But this is, this is around a kind network rather than.
If I may through you, Chair, this is around the doing and the working that's taking place in that space. The point that you're raising, councillor, is very valid, but it's around productive land and where we're putting houses and where other things are happening and what we're doing to protect them, and that is very much around that district land.
So highlighting that there's one to do across our work that is being done. To make sure that it's considered in those things too.
Chief, I just add on this conversation, it is definitely part of the Wellington Regional Leaders Forum, and I think that's where it's come from. And that's why I believe that it's reported here as a community partnership between the regions. Sorry, I'm just offering because I'm an alternate to that. I just thought it might be helpful to the conversation.
But it's very much a risk through
Yeah.
the doing and the providing of food and how we can and the continuum and the food resilience, etc. like that, not around productive lands and other things and how we
That's
protect them in that district. Thank you.
So it's documented in that paper.
Any questions? Thank you, Councillor.
Para 65, the High Court, Cleveland Court. The last 2 seasons, the fountains there have been out of action because of problems with the machinery. So is it ready to go? Are the fountains ready to go this season?
Through you, Chair, is ready to go. The unforeseen, we cannot do things about them. But yeah, it's ready to go.
That's too long, might not be.
Actually, Joe, I think it's today, so.
Yeah.
Something is just.
Just with the Harcourt Park. I was here at the track at Marybank, out slipped in that, what's happening in that, what's the update on that?
Through you, Chair, at the top of where the slip is onto the cycleway, walkway there are some buildings, and it's the old dairy at the Ferguson Drive State Highway 2 sort of intersection. That is privately owned, and the land below that is privately owned. Our building group has got a engineer's report to see if there is any danger to the building with that slip. What we are doing within our parks and rec is we're looking at that building engineer's report and seeing what may be done to alleviate that slip and stop it from occurring again. The problem is the land is privately owned. So at this present point in time, we've got an engineer's report around the slip, but what can and can't be done, we are looking and investigating at the moment to stop it from happening again and to make that park usable, and what costs that may come with that, or alternatively, if we're unable to do it, once again re-emphasising it's on private land, what other alternatives are available to us.
And we will that.
We will continue to update this committee and council as to what's happening about it. Yes.
Considering, been some time and a lot of people really want that track down there, so, we can let you know, we can get out to public what sort of spell becomes talk at some time. That's always.
Due through you, just on my part, do we have at least
Hello? You need me?
Through you, Chair. We don't. The reason being is that our park staff, which is My Mike was okay to answer the question. Have been on site, and there's a number of issues that we want to have resolved prior to handover occurring. What we'll be looking to do is some kind of soft reopening, and then consider a more formal reopening at the appropriate time in the future. But we're just working through those as we speak. What you'll see is that the pizzas will come down and become operational when it's appropriate to do so. There've been a few teething issues, as noted with the seed taking, but overall it's a fantastic asset, it really is. So we do want to get it reopened as soon as we can and then look at it in terms of some kind of appropriate level celebration and schedule.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just wondering, so page 32, 0.60, the half-high roof is being repaired or replaced in the next few months. Do we know more about that since this paper was written? And what are the future plans for the half-high building? Do we have a timeline for returning it to community use?
Through Chair is, they're still working on the roof, and the fix may be a little bit easier than was first anticipated. So that's the answer to the first one. We have only just commenced, we being internally, around the process for looking at how the hapa could get best used by community. And we will go through a process with community, etc. And the timeline which you asked for is yet to be established. We started that discussion internally probably about a week ago, and we've got a few little steps that we need to do internally before we potentially go out to the community. And part of that internal might be a discussion with councillors around what we're proposing and how it might work.
Thank you.
It's all council staff with the other back here.
Back here.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, on 0.70, the Maidstone sand-based grass fields being replaced. How long do the sand-based grass fields last? Because I didn't think that was very old. And when the deep patch is removed, what do they do with it? Is it reused in some way or recycled in some way?
Through you, Chair, I can answer some of that. Is the sand-based turfs due to be replaced if we're going to do the property every 2 years. Those sand-based turfs have been there for 5.
Okay.
So we've got more than adequate usage out of them. The second part, I'm not sure from a technical point of view where it's taken to, but I can certainly find that out.
Now back 60, they have our roof. When we out there, that was the roof fixing. It would be re-roofed, I think, wasn't.
Not the only, but.
I forget the year, that's not.
Yeah, we did work. Otherwise.
Anyway.
It's well.
Thank you. I just want to compliment the team on page 25 on the City of Industry. I've had a lot of positive feedback with regard to people that have already seen that exhibition. And it's really something that we should be proud of. And I know that we had an awful lot of work that we put into that. And I hope my other colleagues around the table actually take advantage of the invite that you received to us, inviting us to go and have a look at it. I'd like to now go to page 26, and it's just a question on paragraph 29. So out of the lifeguards that have applied, these are people that haven't got the lifeguarding courses that we're offering it to, or have we opened it up that if they get this qualification, they might want to come and work for us. I'm not quite sure how.
Okay, there's a number of things happening there. The training courses that we have been delivering are for people that have expressed an interest in being lifeguards.
Right.
We haven't employed them. We have used our resources and Fulton's, and our resources being internal staff to train them with the view that the majority of those are likely to be our part-timers and our casual staff.
Right,
Most of them are really young. We have just gone out to market for a senior lifeguard and are about to go out for lifeguards permanent and looking to interview before Christmas and then appoint, and the appointment date will be sometime in towards the end of January, February, and then lead up to the pool opening.
March.
The March is the date that we have at the moment in respect to the pool openings.
My next question is that I'm going to go to page 29 and it's under business community update. Is there more of an explanation of why Kuya Hitchens Alexander Road is closed? Because I think it's going to be an economic development grant.
I can find that out there.
Because I recall we even did a site visit there and had a lot of them introduced to those people and I was just wondering, also in the paragraph above it just relates to that business movement that I said that is opened up in Redwood Street. My next question is to go to page, give us comments on frontline. The professional development on page 34. And it's about Lee Wickham, our director of Whirinaki Whare Tonga. I just think it's a great opportunity that she actually will be a keynote speaker in Paris and going to the Museum Connection conference. I just think it's great to actually acknowledge that she's doing this and what a wonderful opportunity. No doubt she will speak that, and I look forward to seeing some of the exhibitions she's probably going to capture to bring back to New Zealand. And that's what I have to say. Thanks for the report.
Councillor Alderman, all in favour? Aye. We're going to do our last report. Item 6, engagement strategy planning consensus. Very good. Updates.
Thank you, through you, Chair. First, I'd just like to introduce sitting at the back there is Donna Baker, our kind of new communication and engagement manager. So I just wanted to welcome Donna to the meeting. And the only other update I wanted to make was just to acknowledge at the end of the report, paragraphs 15 and 16, when we took the kite away, that this morning we had a very nice potpourri welcoming Taipoku Ratu, who started with us today here at Council, and just wanted to acknowledge and thank those councillors that were able to make it and come along as well. So, any questions through you, Chair?
That's Gary.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. The centre parade seems light with 11 floats. Is that a risk at this time for registration?
Through you, Chair, if I recall correctly, I think Donna's updated me this morning, is it 24 we're now up to.
Take up like last year and we got late. Yeah, so.
I just want to ask about communications and engagement, and it's got proactive communications and media and consultation and engagement is part of it there. So one of the things I'd really like to see this council doing is communicating with people more in person. And so obviously that's the councillor's role, perhaps with some staff support, like we do consultations. But what I'm wanting to know is if we can do something around local water done well, because I think that the community have been a bit left behind in being brought up to speed with what's happening. And also I think that being able to have informal discussions and just a cup of tea and a chat in person is really helpful, so that people can catch up with what's been happening in the background before we start consulting on a water services delivery plan, so that by the time that consultation starts, the community have already got the background information and have already had an opportunity to meet us in person as well. I do think face-to-face meeting is really helpful. I mean, I'm happy to talk to people in the community. We all do, independently, but to have some kind of council-run event where we do have staff assistance as well with providing information, I think that would be a really helpful thing right now.
Chair, that was agreed to last week, the meeting.
Yes, it was.
That was agreed to last week's meeting.
Yep.
That would be some information, but it's a matter of getting the information before we go to the community. We're in that stage now, but that was agreed to, yeah, the meeting last week.
There was a presentation here last week.
So, okay,
Just further Tracy's comment, I think a good starting point would be putting the BIA questions and answers Q&A that are on your website, up on our website,
We have,
or a link, and publicise that. Because that actually answers quite a lot of information that people need to know about. So that would be a good starting point, but people don't seem to know that exists, or if it's on our website, that it exists on our website.
Yeah, through you, Chair, I thought that they were up there. I'm just trying to quickly see if I could find the exact page, but my understanding was that we did, because we did, they're very good to have up there. If not, we'll certainly take that away.
They're very good, and I mean, this is
Yeah.
a very prescriptive process, so that there's been.
Yeah, I thought that would have helped some of the lack of information or knowledge that public have quite well.
Any questions?
I suppose it's an understanding strategy when we 39, number 3, around there's no longer a marketing component to the team and events, and that it's going to be limited as to what it is that we do. And I totally get that, because in the LGP we kind of can't back quite a bit of money in that space. But you know, I suppose the responsibility then would be on elected members to probably amplify some of the stuff we do, especially around welcoming weeks, because you've got a policy and strategy around that to actually do that, and that might figure into what Councillor Walker was talking about. But part of the engagement and communications, we get a weekly update sent out to us as councillors as to inquiries and things like that come to us. My concern is that I see that there are some issues on there that have been there for quite some time. I like the fact that it makes it really easy for me that it's just built on the week before, the week before, the week before. But I can see that while some things are moving up, there are some things that are still there that have been there for a while. And I would have thought that that would have come with communications and engagement and being proactive in our time. Is there any way that we can, I mean, is there a timeline? I believe there's a timeline that we need to get back to with people with regard to a employment request, or should this be something that are in list insurance? It's just that it's covered on.
Yeah, I mean, through you, Chair, the employments are a separate sort of.
Yeah, but
That we do report on, and as we do updates to the
Yeah.
members. I'm certainly the employment team very conscious of meeting the statutory requirements for those. That's right.
Got any outstanding requirement?
I mean, we,
it's me.
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the team did very well. We get it, obviously, you can see we get a number of, you know, see. Source information, see information coming sort of on, for example, loads of on questions related to the very words.
Thank you.
Questions?
Through you, just to, the website has got local would have done well before, and it does link to the BIA website and located to the event, so it's, yeah, the best place. Yeah.
I'll move it to the court meeting, now it's in, all happy, all in favour?
I am.
And that concludes our meeting, close the meeting at 5:25.